Hey, welcome to the second edition of my Ladies, Wine and Design talk, covering the current government aid plans. I say current because it seems to be changing all the time. And one thing that I want to stress before I kind of delve into everything in this video for you is although I've been speaking to loads of accountants and I've been conducting a lot of research, etc., I am still a creative recruiter. I'm not a qualified accountant myself, so I would always consult a financial professional or an accountant, okay, before making any decisions, which I'm sure everybody will do anyway. It is common sense, but that's something that I just wanted to stress quickly. So last video I touched on an explanation on furlough and if you're in employment, what that means, and also that if you are a director of your own limited company, even if you're the only employee, that you can get your business to furlough you. I also briefly mentioned the self-employment income support scheme. I'm going to elaborate on that a bit further for you today. And also in my last talk, I said that furlough might be extended until July, and it's now been extended until October. So yeah, it's changing all the time. Let's start with if you are a one-woman or one-man band of your own limited company and what the government has put in place to support you through these difficult times. Number one, you can have your company furlough you, which I mentioned in the last video. So you write a letter between yourself and your company about that exact moment your company made a decision to furlough you, okay? And again, I want to stress, once you do that, you cannot do any commercial activity that will make your business money in the long term. But if you get your company to furlough you, you will receive 80% of basic salary you've been paying yourself. So I would imagine that will be around the 600, 700 mark, capped again at 2,500. And as I said in my earlier video, you can claim universal credit at the same time. So you just go on gov.uk and you just explore that really. Anyone can go on there, play around with it. You're not going to get in trouble for seeing if you can make a claim, okay? Plan B or option two, even if, like me, you've decided to not have your business furlough you and just to keep going, you can follow the route that I've done, which is secure yourself a bounce back loan. Now, bounce back loans are loans of up to 50,000 that the government have underwritten with the banks, so become guarantors for, and these are interest-free loans for up to 12 months, and the banks are offering them as 25% of your yearly turnover, okay? When applying for one of these, you could just go online and you fill out a form through the bank. A bit of a heads up, when I was selecting options, I applied through NatWest. I first selected for cash flow, but then it wouldn't let me go any further because it said, well, you've got a business overdraft that you haven't used, so why don't you use that first? But when I selected for business growth, I then went through to the next section, kind of whizzed through all the questions there. It is a pretty painless process. I was very pleasantly surprised by how quickly they released funds to me within 48 hours of the initial application process, actually. I'm a fan of them. You don't have to use them. They're a good backup, and from conversations I have had with accountants, they're fans of them as well. And word on the street is that once we're actually out of lockdown, it's highly unlikely that the government are going to be supplying these very generous loans, okay? So it's probably, I've been advised, best to grab one now whilst you can, just as a bit of peace of mind backup, really. Another thing that you can do is defer your VAT payment for Q1. So you need to contact HMRC right away if this is something you want to do on the Gov.uk website, I believe. I'm not sure when the deadline for this was. If it's something you want to do, you probably should have paid your VAT bill by now. but that is an option, okay? Now I want to move on to the grants that you can claim if you're self-employed or a sole trader. It's called SIS. It's a grant through the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme. So the scheme will allow you to claim a taxable grant of 80% of your average monthly trading profits, paid out in a single instalment covering 3 months, and it's capped at 7,500 altogether. Okay, so this, as it stands at the moment, I believe is a temporary scheme, but it may be extended. If you receive this grant, you can continue to work, start a new trade, or take on other employment, including voluntary work. So the grant does not need to be repaid, but will be subject to income tax and self-employed national insurance. So there is other support available if you're not eligible for this grant. So HMRC will work out if you're eligible and how much you may get, and everything you need is on the HMRC website under gov.uk. So you can claim if you're a self-employed individual or a member of a partnership, so an NLP, and the following apply, okay? You traded in the tax year 2018 to 2019 and submitted your self-assessment tax return on or before the 23rd of April 2020 for that year. Also that you traded in the tax year of 2019 to 2020, that you intend to continue as well to trade in the tax year 2020 to 2021, and you carry on a trade which has been adversely affected by coronavirus. So your business could be affected by coronavirus if, for example, and this is going to apply to pretty much all of us, right? But I'll whiz through it. So you're unable to work because you are shielding, you're self-isolating, as we all have been. You're on sick leave because of coronavirus. You have caring responsibilities because of coronavirus. You've had to scale down or temporarily stop trading because your supply chain's been interrupted. You have fewer or no customers or clients, or your staff are unable to come in to work. You should not claim the grant if you are a limited company or operating a trade through a trust. To work out your eligibility, HMRC will first look at your 2018 to 2019 self-assessment tax return, and your trading profits must be no more than 50,000 and at least equal to non-trading income. You are not eligible based on the 2018 to 2019 self-assessment tax return. They will then look at the tax years 2016 to 2017, 2017 to 2018 and 2018 to 2019. Grants under the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme are not counted as access to public funds, and you can claim the grant on all categories of work visa. And also another thing that's very important to stress is you must make this claim yourself, okay? So your accountant can't do it for you, tax agent, advisor, because if they do, this will trigger a fraud alert and you'll have to contact HMRC, and this may cause a significant delay to you receiving your payment. A lot of people have asked me, so how do I find out how much I can claim and can't claim? It's all down to a case-by-case individual basis, okay? It's basically a bit of common sense. These grants are designed to help people who are truly in need. So one of the golden rules is if you have additional revenue streams that aren't your trade, which bring you in significant income, then you won't be eligible for this grant. So if you own several properties, for example, that are bringing in X amount of like rent money and payment, the government is less likely to support you because these grants are for people in desperate financial need. So now let's move on to umbrella workers and what you're eligible to receive support. Under the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, where you can apply to HMRC for a grant to cover 80% of your salary, again for up to $2,500 a month. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't know as much about umbrella companies. I know the government have dragged their feet a bit on this, and because of pressure that's been put upon them, they've come up with a solution for umbrella companies. So I'd still say kind of do a bit more research out there. dig around, speak to some accountants. So another bit of digging I've tried to do is finding out about other loans that creatives can go after. I mean, if you own a small digital business, the government are throwing money at that as, okay, digital is new oil, right? So there's a lot of what are called R&D loans flying around at the moment. So that stands for research and development. Digital, it really is on the cusp, but if it's anything to do with web building, development, like web development, anything like that, you might be eligible for these types of loans, okay? The government seems to be a bit more focused on helping out within like leisure, hospitality and retail industries. You can see why, but one really good bit of advice I've been given from an accountant is that HMRC are bending over backwards at the moment trying to help. And it's encouraged that you actually get on the phone to HMRC and just have a chat with them. And they're being very, very flexible about deferring payments or payment plan solutions and things like that. So they're being very empathetic and understanding, okay? Also, another good bit of advice for you personally is, and I'm sure you've all done this already, but just look at your outgoings and your own burn rate and think commercially about how you can try and keep that to an absolute minimum. So calling up all your suppliers, staggering payments across 3 months, what can you pause? Again, as I said, I'm sure you've done this already, but getting your office rent like half price and things like that. Like landlords have actually been told by the government that they need to act with compassion at this time. So yeah, I hope a lot of you have found this useful. Maybe I've given you a bit of information that you didn't know. Go on the Gov UK website. There's so much there. It's really helpful. There's webinars all the time that you can tune into. And again, I just want to stress, I'm a creative recruiter. I'm not an accountant. I'm doing my best to supply you with all the info you need, but you probably do need to speak to one of those as well. So take care, everyone. I hope you're all okay out there as much as you can be. And I'll be in touch soon.